Night fell over the northern lands like a vast black curtain drawn across the heavens. After calling Ju Xuan the rabbit and the gold-seeking rat out from the mysterious Black Tower, Ling Han's group began their journey once more. Their destination lay deeper in the north, where the final obstacle remained, the Blood Flame Valley. Only by bringing the great sects of the northern region under control could the rising Great Ling Empire extend its authority across the land. Ling Han understood this strategy well. The ancient wisdom of the martial world had long declared, capture the leader, and the followers will fall in line. If the towering sects bowed their heads, the smaller forces scattered across the region would soon follow. When that moment arrived, the armies of the Great Ling Empire would only need to march forward and gather what was already theirs. Yet even while traveling, Ling Han's mind did not rest. His thoughts were buried deep within the mysteries of a terrifying formation, the Ice Dragon Ground Blast Formation. This was no ordinary array. It belonged to the 10th tier, a realm of formations so profound that even masters of the martial world rarely glimpsed their true depth. In theory, someone at Ling Han's current level should not have been able to comprehend such a creation. But Ling Han was not an ordinary man. In his previous life, he had dismantled countless 9th-tier formations and studied the secrets of arrays with relentless dedication. Earlier still, he had examined the formations embedded within the legendary Revere Life Sword, formations whose destructive might far surpassed even this Ice Dragon array. With that experience as his foundation, the complicated patterns before him were not impossible puzzles, but riddles waiting to be solved. His mind worked ceaselessly as the group traveled. At the same time, Ling Han began another task, collecting rare metals. Wherever they passed through towns or markets, Ling Han purchased every piece of rare metal he could find, buying without restraint. No merchant could resist his wealth. After all, Ling Han possessed both the Black Tower and the skill of an Alchemy Emperor. If he were willing, even a single dragon blood tyrant ginseng could drain the wealth of an entire group of spiritual infant-tier cultivators. Of course, he had no intention of selling such treasures. Instead, he refined pills from the medicinal herbs within the Black Tower, trading them for immense wealth. When time was short, he simply sold the raw treasures directly, and every coin he gained was immediately transformed into rare metals. Within the boundless space of the Black Tower, Ling Han placed these metals inside the Heaven Transformation Bowl. The divine artifact hummed with ancient power. First-tier metal slowly transformed into second-tier. Second-tier evolved into third-tier. Third-tier rose into fourth-tier. Step by step, layer by layer, the Heaven Transformation Bowl refined the materials upward through the ranks. Though the process consumed massive amounts of raw metal, Ling Han did not hesitate. With enough materials, he could eventually obtain the 10th-tier rare metals required to construct the Ice Dragon Ground Blast Formation. As the journey continued, the northern sects began to fall in line. The Shinra sect bowed its head. Soon after, the Beast Emperor sect followed. One by one, the great powers of the north chose allegiance rather than resistance. At last, only the Blood Flame Valley remained. Meanwhile, Ling Han's astonishing spending spree shook the entire northern region. Nearly half of all rare metals circulating through the north were gathered into his hands. Even the great superpowers like the Half Moon sect and the Winter Moon sect could hardly imagine such extravagance. But Ling Han accomplished it effortlessly. An Alchemy Emperor combined with the infinite resources of the Black Tower. Money was simply not a concern. Still, without the Heaven Transformation Bowl, none of it would have mattered. That treasure defied the laws of heaven and earth. When enough 10th-tier metal had finally been refined, Ling Han began forging. He originally wished to craft full-sized swords, but the quantity of metal remained limited. In the end, he settled for a more efficient design, 108 short swords. The number was not random. The Ice Dragon Ground Blast Formation required exactly 108 formation eyes. Inside the Black Tower, forging tools was as effortless as kneading dough. Even 10th-tier rare metals behaved like soft clay under Ling Han's control. But forging the blades was only the first step. The true challenge lay ahead. Each sword required intricate formation patterns carved upon its surface. And Ling Han had not yet fully grasped the essence of the Ice Dragon ground blast formation. If he attempted to engrave the patterns now, he would only replicate their appearance without understanding their spirit. A true formation must resonate with heaven and earth, drawing in the energy of the world itself. Without that connection, the array would be nothing more than empty decoration. So Ling Han chose patience. Once his understanding deepened, he would complete the formation properly, and he was confident that day would not be far away. Their journey soon brought them closer to Blood Flame Valley. Defeating a mere spiritual infant-tier force was not difficult. The true challenge lay in the vast distances of the northern region. Days of constant travel left little time for rest. At last, Hunyu could endure no longer. The little girl stomped her foot and demanded a break with great enthusiasm. Ling Han glanced at the horizon. They would reach Blood Flame Valley the next day. One night's rest would not change anything, so he agreed. Soon a lively campfire crackled beneath the dark sky. Fine wine and delicious food appeared as if by magic. The northern region had always been a carefree place. Here, those strong enough could proclaim themselves kings and live without restraint. Zhu Xuan lifted a set of pipes and began to play. Soft music drifted through the night air. Then she danced. Her movements were graceful and elegant, like moonlight gliding across a quiet lake. As Ling Han watched, he felt his heart stir uncontrollably. Exceptional beauty was truly dangerous, capable of turning even the calmest man into a beast. Hunyu snorted in dissatisfaction. With a mischievous grin, she jumped forward and began dancing as well. Her dance was far less refined. Each step struck the ground with thunderous force, sending vibrations rumbling across the earth. Nearby beasts fled in panic as the ground trembled beneath her enthusiastic performance. Ling Han burst into laughter. For a moment, the burdens of ambition faded from his mind. Ruling the world, splitting the heavens, dominating the martial realm, none of it seemed important. Perhaps living peacefully like this would not be so bad. But the martial world never allowed such tranquility to last. Suddenly, Hong! A terrifying gale of power erupted from the darkness and struck toward Ling Han's back. The timing was flawless. Ling Han had been eating, relaxed, his guard lowered to the lowest point, and the destructive force behind the attack was horrifying, reaching the strength of a mid-level heaven-tier expert. Xing Han's body flashed into lightning. In the blink of an eye, he moved, but even lightning could not escape completely. The attack grazed his left rib. Cloth tore apart as a dark wound appeared on his waist. 5 finger-shaped marks stained the flesh with a terrifying black color. A faint, unpleasant odor drifted from the wound, the clear sign of poisonous qi. "Who is it?" the others shouted in fury. Hunyu did not bother with words. She charged straight into the surrounding brush like a ferocious tiger. Moments later, peng! Peng! 2 figures burst from the undergrowth, locked in combat. One was Hunyu, her small body unmistakable. The other was tall and broad-shouldered, cloaked entirely in black robes and a hood that seemed to merge with the surrounding darkness itself. This was no simple disguise. Despite Ling Han's and Hunyu's powerful divine senses, neither had detected the man approaching earlier. Unless he were a shattering void-tier expert, which he clearly was not, such stealth should have been impossible. But a shattering void-tier cultivator would never bother with assassination. Such a being could crush them with a single move. Ling Han raised a hand. "Hunyu, come back!" The girl immediately retreated to his side. Ling Han turned calmly toward the black-cloaked figure. "Sir," he said lightly, "you've been following us for quite some time, haven't you?" The man's voice emerged from beneath the hood, low, metallic, and strangely chilling. 9 days. Ling Han raised his brows slightly. Such patience was remarkable. This man had stalked them silently for over a week, waiting for the perfect moment, and when the opportunity came, he struck without hesitation, managing to wound Ling Han with a single attack. "What should I call you?" Ling Han asked. The man slowly removed the hood from his head. A young face appeared beneath it, square-jawed and calm. Yet Ling Han instantly sensed something strange. The man's arms were wrinkled like aged bark, suggesting a far older age than his appearance revealed. "My name," the man said quietly, "is Corpse 2. Ling Han blinked. "Corpse 2? That's quite a name." Then he smiled faintly. "You're from the 1,000 Corpse sect, aren't you?" Corpse 2 chuckled softly. It's not exactly a subtle name, he admitted. Most people figure it out immediately. Then perhaps you should change it, Ling Han suggested with a laugh. Corpse 2 shook his head calmly. No need. I don't mind if people know. The two men stood facing one another beside the flickering firelight, speaking almost casually, yet anyone watching would know the truth. Just moments earlier, Corpse 2 had launched a deadly assassination meant to take Ling Han's life, and the night was far from over. The dim air between the two warriors felt heavy, as if the heavens themselves were listening. Ling Han's gaze drifted toward the strange cloak draped over Corpse 2's shoulders. The fabric seemed ordinary at first glance, yet it swallowed light in a way that made the eye struggle to focus. So that cloak, Ling Han said calmly, it hides the body, doesn't it? Corpse 2 gave a stiff nod. Correct, a mystical treasure. It severs divine sense and blinds the eye within a certain range, an excellent tool for assassins or infiltrators. Ling Han smiled faintly. Then thank you for explaining. You're welcome, Corpse 2 replied with a crooked smile that looked unnatural upon his rigid face. After all, I usually show a little courtesy to those who are about to die by my hand. Ling Han tilted his head slightly, as if pondering something trivial. Since you call yourself Corpse 2, does that mean there's a Corpse 1? Corpse 2 shook his head slowly. No, but there is someone called Corpse Boss. He awakened before I did, and gained intelligence earlier. The words struck Ling Han like a silent thunderclap. Awakened earlier, gained intelligence. His thoughts raced. Could it be? Corpse 2 seemed to notice the realization forming in Ling Han's eyes. His rigid smile stretched wider. You've guessed correctly, he said. In my previous life, I was already dead. A corpse belonging to some powerful expert. My body lay undisturbed for tens of thousands of years. And by the blessing of heaven and earth, a new consciousness was born. Ling Han's expression turned solemn. Now everything made sense. Earlier, he had sensed something deeply contradictory about this being, ancient yet youthful, decayed yet alive. The truth was chilling. This creature was a corpse that had endured for ages before giving birth to a new soul, a strange existence standing between life and death, a being reborn from decay itself. So Corpse Boss is the same? Ling Han asked. Corpse 2 nodded. Yes, but his corpse is superior to mine. His skeletal remains were stronger in life, so his current strength surpasses mine. A faint confidence flickered in his tone. But this second life allows me to cultivate again. In time, I will surpass him. Ling Han could not help but curse inwardly. What a monstrous existence. This wasn't merely a resurrected corpse. It was a relic from ancient times reborn with fresh consciousness. If the original owner of this body had been powerful enough for their remains to resist decay for tens of thousands of years, then their bones, flesh, and blood must have been saturated with martial intent. If even fragments of that will remain, the power hidden within such a body would be terrifying. Ling Han exhaled slowly. The Thousand Corpse sect really values me, he said lightly, sending someone of your level just to kill me. Corpse 2 laughed loudly. Well, you forced our hand. You chose the path of destruction by founding a dynasty. His voice echoed with certainty. That is something our sect will never allow. Ling Han's eyes flickered thoughtfully. A new thought surfaced. Then, could it be that the Thousand Corpse sect also intends to establish a nation? Corpse 2 did not deny it. Instead, he answered openly. Our sect's ambition is no secret. We wish to establish a vast empire of corpses. Ling Han's mind sharpened. He slowly lifted his hand and made a gesture of tearing open the sky. Could it be that your sect is also interested in splitting open the heavens? Corpse 2's stiff grin widened. Yes, he said calmly, though perhaps not in the way you imagine. Ling Han's heart sank. To split open the skies meant lifting the entire world into the divine realm, raising the level of the vast lands and turning it into divine territory. But suddenly, a terrifying possibility flashed through his mind. Cultivators who practiced underworld techniques could tear open a passage into the netherworld. If such people were the ones to split open the skies, then where would this world ascend? The answer was chilling, the underworld. Ling Han inhaled sharply. So this was the Thousand Corpse sect's grand ambition. Yet another thought followed immediately. Did they truly possess the strength for such a dream? From what he had seen so far, the Thousand Corpse sect was far weaker than the 5 great sects, Any of those ancient powers could likely wipe them out entirely. If they truly possessed such power, why had they hidden themselves for so many years? Meanwhile, Corpse 2 remained completely relaxed, as if he had no intention of assassinating anyone at all. Instead, he continued speaking calmly. "I know you're stalling for time," he said. "But so am I." Ling Han's eyes narrowed slightly. Corpse 2 smiled faintly. "You've already been poisoned by my corpse poison. It cannot be expelled. And as time passes, it only worsens." He spread his hands casually. "As I said before, I show respect to the dead." Ling Han lowered his gaze toward his waist. The wound there had turned pitch black, and the darkness was spreading. It crept outward like living ink, slowly swallowing his flesh. Zhu Xuan'er gasped in horror. Anyone injured by the Thousand Corpse sect rarely escaped a grim fate. Death, or transformation into a mindless corpse soldier. Ling Han nodded calmly. "As expected of a corpse that has existed for 10,000 years, he murmured. "Even my diamond body cannot automatically purge this corpse chi." Then he activated his technique, the indestructible heaven scroll. A humming vibration echoed through the air. Golden light erupted from Ling Han's body, bathing him in a divine radiance. His entire figure shone like a war god descending from the heavens. Yet Corpse 2 merely placed his hands behind his back. He made no move to stop him. "You are correct," he said calmly. "This body is indeed a corpse that has existed for over 10,000 years. He paused, then corrected himself. "Actually, far longer than that." His tone carried a hint of amusement. "Did you know that corpses are like trees?" he asked casually. "They form corpse rings just as trees form growth rings." Ling Han frowned slightly. "There are more than 30,000 corpse rings within this body," Corpse 2 continued with a chuckle. "Of course, I never bothered counting them all. 30,000 years. By that measure, this corpse might possess the highest seniority in the entire world. Even ancient experts like Ma Duo Bao, who had slept for 10 or 20,000 years, would fall short of such age. For over 30,000 years, Corpse 2 went on, my body lay buried in a land of absolute yin, a place where all yang energy was extinguished. The corpse chi that formed there was unimaginably dense. Without such an environment, a new divine spirit could never have been born. Otherwise, he added lightly, I would have remained nothing more than a corpse soldier." Ling Han stood wrapped in golden light. "Then why serve the Thousand Corpse sect?" he asked. "With your power, you could roam the world freely." Corpse 2 smiled again. "Everyone needs a dream," he said quietly, "and my dream happens to align with the Thousand Corpse sect's ambitions." He paused, then added with faint amusement, "Besides, my corpse body requires corpse chi to continue cultivating. Where else would I find a better place than the Thousand Corpse sect?" The golden radiance around Ling Han slowly faded. He shook his head slightly. "As expected of a corpse that has existed for tens of thousands of years," he said. "Even the indestructible heaven scroll cannot remove this poison." The problem wasn't that the technique was weak. The poison had simply fermented for too long. After 30,000 years, its potency had become terrifying. Even shattering void-tier elites might struggle to resist such corruption. And Ling Han's cultivation level was still too low. If their realms had been equal, the indestructible heaven scroll would have displayed far greater power. At this moment, the corpse poison had already crept upward to Ling Han's chest. Corpse 2's eyes narrowed slightly. "You are impressive," he admitted. "Your cultivation art is extraordinary. To slow the spread of my corpse poison to such a degree." He shook his head lightly. "If it were any other deity transformation tier warrior, even 1,000 of them, they would already have become corpse soldiers." He sighed softly. "Such talent. For a moment I almost regret killing you." His voice grew somewhat melancholic. "Corpse soldiers are powerful, yes, but they lack intelligence. Their potential is limited." Ling Han suddenly smiled. "Well then," he said lightly, "since you've already praised me so highly, how could I disappoint you?" In the next instant, his body vanished, then appeared again, then flashed forward once more. His movements were so fast, they seemed to slip between moments of time itself. And when he reappeared, the black poison covering his body had vanished completely. His skin shone like flawless jade, glowing faintly with divine brilliance. Corpse 2's eyes widened in shock. "How is that possible?"